Hi guys, and welcome to my kitchen. I'm so excited to be filming finally a health video in the new house for you guys. This is the first episode in a new series that I've started called Back to Basics. I talked about this on Instagram and Facebook a few weeks ago, and I'm really excited to start this series for you because I get a lot of questions if I'm doing a recipe or I post a meal idea or something like that that uses, for example, cooked quinoa. I get a lot of questions from people asking, how do I cook quinoa? What do I need to do? Every time I do it, it goes wrong. What would you recommend I do? What are the best methods? And I do get a lot of questions like that about quite basic things to me, but I've been cooking for quite a while. And if you're starting out cooking, there can be things that can be a little bit daunting or you might not be entirely sure how to do. So I've started this series to answer the questions for you. It'll be a good reference point for anyone who is younger, anyone who's getting into cooking, anyone who maybe isn't new to cooking but is new to cooking with these new ingredients, with healthier foods, eating clean, and maybe even if you've been cooking for a while, there might be something that could be interesting for you. I'd love to know what you want to see in this series because it's obviously here to answer your questions. So let me know if there's anything that you struggle with or there's anything that you're interested to see my take on. Then I will answer it for you in video form if you leave it in the comments below. And I'm looking for specific things, so not things like school ideas or healthy lunches or quick snacks or healthy desserts, because those are series in their own right and they will be series in their own right. I'm looking for more specific things like how to roast vegetables, how to cook quinoa, how to cook rice properly, how to start off with spices, what spices do you need to invest in, grocery shopping lists, how to food prep, what equipment you need, which this video is going to focus on. So very specific things that you might struggle with. I will be working on snacks, school lunches, healthy meal ideas, but those will be in other series. So I hope that's quite clear for you guys, and I'd be interested to hear if there's anything else that you are interested in apart from the ones that I've mentioned. So today we're going to focus on equipment. First things first, if you can hear any loud noises in this video, it is because we have 100-mile-per-hour wind in the UK at the moment. It is blustery and rainy and so cold, and there is a chimney breast in my kitchen and it's just whistling and howling and there's nothing I can do about it. So apologies if that's distracting, but it's been windy for the last few days and I just wanted to film this video. So back to the kitchen equipment. I think when you first start off cooking or you are trying to build kitchen equipment, maybe you're moving out of your parents' house for the first time, maybe you're going to uni, maybe you've got your own house and you just don't know where to start. It can be a little bit daunting, I agree, and it's really nice to be able to sit down and think, okay, what do I need to get now? What do I need to invest in? What can I buy cheaply? And what can I buy a bit later on? So that's what I'm going to go through today. I'm going to start off, first of all, with things that you're going to need to cook. The first thing that you're going to need is something to cook in. You can't cook food if you have nothing to put it in. I've gone through all the cycles in the years. I've had cheap pans and I've had more expensive pans. Some pans you can buy cheaply and some pans you can't buy cheaply, or at least you need to spend a little bit more money on. When we moved to London, we were on a real budget. We were renting the flat. We weren't sure how long we were going to be there. I wanted to buy a set of pans, but I didn't want to spend a lot of money because living in London was expensive as it was. We didn't have a lot of money to spare, and I bought a box of pans from IKEA that you put your own handles on, and they didn't last me long. I threw them away when we moved, apart from one pan which is still going strong, a little saucepan. They did the job. It was about £30 for 5 or 6 pans and they lasted for a year. They were okay, they were nothing special, but they also weren't terrible. They cooked my food, it wasn't a problem. And I feel like you could get away with getting slightly cheaper pans. When you're talking about saucepans, I think you can go a little bit cheaper because generally you're cooking food in there that isn't going to stick too much. However, I really recommend these pans. They are by a brand called Il Mulino, New York, and Il Mulino is actually a restaurant in New York. I got these pans from TK Maxx, and they are fantastic, and because they were from TK Maxx, they were not expensive. I got a small pan, I got a bigger pan. Then you have the Mac Daddy of pans. You have a huge one, which I don't use that often unless I'm making soup, but you know, it's great to have that if you want to batch cook things. Personally, I think you can get away with getting slightly cheaper saucepans, but I would recommend for all of these things going to HomeSense and going to TK Maxx or TJ Maxx if you're in America and picking them up, because you will get some bargains. You will be able to afford brands that maybe are a little bit higher quality for the same price that you would pay if you went to a department store and just got their own brand. Or the other option is to just buy one good quality saucepan rather than a set. If you were going to buy one, I'd recommend something like this medium-sized one. You can easily cook things for 4 people in this pan. You can make soups, you can make curries, stews. You could also use it for sauces, things that you would use a smaller pan for. So if you get the middle size, you know, if you're only cooking something small, it doesn't matter, you know, it's a big pan, it's not going to be taking up much room, but that's okay. And likewise, if you want to cook for more people, then that's okay as well. So if you do want to invest in better quality, maybe get just one pan to start off with until you can afford to get another one. As I said, TK Maxx is perfection, and I actually picked up this pan in TK Maxx, which is my favourite pan that I own. It's a great little saucepan, it's got a little spout here if I'm making sauces, and it's by Riess, and I think this was about £5, so really inexpensive but extremely good quality, and nothing sticks to this, very easy to clean, really love it. One pan that you cannot afford to buy cheaply or get a rubbish quality is a sautéing pan or a frying pan. Now, these come in different shapes and sizes, different forms. Some of them have just one handle. This one that I have is a bit more unusual in that it has 2 handles, and it was originally, I think, advertised as like a vegetable sautéing pan, but it's a frying pan, sautéing pan, same thing. If I want to make a nice omelette or if I want to make pancakes, it's quite easy to flip. It's non-stick, which is the most important thing with the frying pan. If you're making things in a cheap frying pan and it's sticking, not only will it ruin, but also you'll get really frustrated. If you're new to cooking, it will put you off completely and it will ruin your confidence. You'll think that it's you. It's not, it's probably the pan. So this was about £8. You can pick up a frying pan for like £2 somewhere. Pay a little bit more money for a frying pan, it will make the world of difference to your cooking. One thing to note when using a frying pan that has a non-stick coating is that you need to use anything that isn't metal when you are turning things around, which I'll get onto in a moment. But non-stick, really good quality sautéing pan will be a lifesaver. You can do vegetables in here, you could do eggs, omelettes, you can cook bacon, meats, you can cook anything you want to in a sautéing pan. It's fantastic. If you're new to cooking, I would really recommend buying measuring spoons and measuring cups as opposed to a scale. I have scales somewhere, I don't even have them out. I can't remember the last time I used kitchen scales. Most recipes, this is a very American way of thinking, but most recipes are now available in cups. So instead of ounces or grams, you would use cup sizes. And any recipe that you can find, you can convert to cups by finding out how many like grams is in a cup, or you can just find a recipe that uses cups naturally, and I just think it's so much easier. It's great with kids, you don't have to measure things and you can cook with kids. It's also great if, like me, you're not a kid but you just want an easy life, and I use cups for everything. I actually have quite a few cup measuring things. This is one set that I have, but I have another set that my friend Caroline got me, which is in the shape of Russian dolls, and you can just stack them up. Really, really cute little cups. They're in the dishwasher at the moment because I've used them. It's really good to invest in a few of them after you've been cooking for a while, because if you do have a dishwasher or you are cooking a few things at once, like when I do my food prep, I cook a lot of different recipes at once. It just saves you having to wash them in between cooking the different recipes if you've got a few different ones to use. These ones are from Lakeland, but I got them from HomeSense. They were a couple of pounds, and here you've got an 1/8 of a cup, 1/4 of a cup, 1/2 a cup and a full cup. And I use these every day. Likewise, I also really like to get the spoons as well. So I picked these up from Tiger, and they were £1, £2, and they are ceramic measuring spoons, so 1/2 teaspoon, tablespoon, teaspoon, whatever. They're really, really easy to use, great when you're seasoning and you wanting to add spices to dishes, and really easy to use as well. Another thing that you'll need if you are cooking is a mixing bowl. You'll need to have somewhere to mix everything together. You can pick up varying types of mixing bowls. You could get one for a couple of pounds in a supermarket, or if you go to somewhere like TK Maxx or HomeSense, you can pick up nice brightly coloured ones like this, and I use this for everything when I'm making sweet potato fries, I'll toss them in here with olive oil, and if I'm baking I'll use this. I use it for everything. And you can also get fancier ones. This is my Le Creuset one, which I absolutely love. Another thing you'll need to be able to do at a basic level is chop food, cut food, slice it, dice it, do whatever you want with it. And you're going to need a good knife. I honestly don't think there's any need to go out and buy a whole set of knives. You can waste a lot of money that way on knives that you will never use. I have a knife set. I very rarely use it. I tend to use one knife and one knife only, and it's this one. This is what's known as a paring knife, and the brand is Kernrickon. I got this from TK Maxx. They sell these all the time. They always have these knives. I have different colours in this knife, but they're the same knife. And I use this for everything, for peeling things, for dicing, for chopping things. Chef's knives are bigger. So chef's knives are longer and they're wider as well. I have a chef's knife. I only use a paring knife. Some people, especially if you're, maybe say you're a guy and your hands are a bit bigger, you might prefer using a chef's knife over a paring knife. But just buy a paring knife to start with. Then when you've got a bit more money, buy a chef's knife, and you can honestly not go wrong with those two knives. You can buy other knives, you can go crazy, but honestly, in terms of what I use anyway, I find this works for most things that I do. It's very, very sharp, and when people come over and they're cooking with me, they always go for the knives with the black handles. They ignore this. They think this is like some kid's knife. It is the sharpest knife. It will cut through butternut squash, skin, it will cut through sweet potatoes. Anything that you kind of struggle with, a general knife, you'll be able to cut through it with these bad boys, and you can sharpen them as well. So for £4, I would honestly buy maybe 2 of these and a chef's knife from the same brand, from TK Maxx, or just get one to start with. I'm waving this thing around like I'm going to kill someone. As well as a knife, I think a grater is the most essential thing in a kitchen, and I'll tell you why. A grater is not just for cheese. A grater can serve you many purposes in a kitchen. So let's say you go into uni, you know, you're going to be wanting to use garlic and things like that. You don't have to buy a garlic press. You can grate garlic. You could use this to grate your garlic and get it pureed like you would with a garlic press. That's one use. You can grate hard cheese, you can grate soft cheese, you can grate cheese. The other thing you can do is make things like courgette fritters and coleslaw and anything that requires vegetables to be shredded. You can grate onions, and if you don't like chopping or if you don't have a good enough knife, you can use a grater to get vegetables down to a consistency that it's easy to cook with. And you can also grate things like raw carrots and use those on salads. And you can also grate and zest things like limes and lemons. So a grater will bring you a lot of different possibilities. I would recommend picking up some basic spatulas and silicone cookware. You can get these very, very cheaply again at TK Maxx or Home Sense or Asda, Tesco, Walmart, wherever you want to go. Like I said, if you are wanting to use non-stick pans, you really need to stay away from metal utensils, because you're going to scratch that non-stick surface and you're going to ruin your pan. It's not going to last you a long time. So for that reason, I really love using a silicone spatula. Really great for getting eggs from underneath and just moving things around, stirring things up, sauteing vegetables. This is your friend. Again, I have a silicone whisk. These are spatulas as well, but I guess kind of like flippers. This one's hilarious. This was a gift from Matt for his birthday. I don't know where it's from. This is amazing. When I'm making things like protein pancakes, generally if you're making healthier versions of pancakes and things like that, they don't hold their shape as much. If you do a lot of gluten-free baking as well, you'll know that it doesn't hold its shape as much as recipes with gluten in. So these will become your best friend because they're big enough to kind of get underneath the whole thing and flip it rather than trying to get halfway under. So I do use this one for when I'm roasting vegetables or doing like sweet potato fries, but if I'm cooking protein pancakes, I love this. So if you only buy one, buy a big daddy flipper and your life will be a lot easier. Really, really cheap and inexpensive are wooden utensils. These are great for using with non-stick pans as well and just stirring things up, stirring the pot. Another basic thing that will really work for you is buying something like this, like a Pyrex or glass jug, to go in the microwave. I think these are fantastic. You can reheat things in them, you can make sauces. If you only have a microwave and you're in halls of residence, you can make pasta sauce in these things from scratch. Honestly, if you want me to do a student's easy meal for like halls of residence that don't have many facilities, and working with microwaves and panini presses and things like that to be able to get really good results, let me know. That's definitely something that I can work on and get thinking about now. There are two more things that I think, even if you're on a budget, you should get. And the first one is a muffin pan that looks like this. So again, you can pick these up anywhere. They are non-stick. If you go for a slightly better brand, because they really will be non-stick and it'll make your life a lot easier. Mine looks really dirty because it's had a lot of use, but it's just stained and it still works perfectly, still non-stick. You can use it for baking, but you can also use it to prep for the week ahead. So say for example, it takes me 10 minutes to make an omelette. I can make 12 omelettes in the same amount of time in the oven using this. So I will do a video on this and I'll show you how I make omelettes for the week ahead. But basically you can make savoury things in here, quiches, little tarts, pastries, snacks, bakes, anything that you can think of. You can do 12 in the same time that it would take you to do one, and then you can put them in bags, put them in the fridge, put them in Tupperware, and you've always got healthy snacks on hand. So these will save you a lot of time. I'd recommend just getting a basic one, but as you move on you might want to get different sizes. I have smaller ones here that I use to make protein brownie bites, and then I have heart-shaped ones as well. You can just experiment with them, but just get a basic one to start off with and it will really make your life a lot easier. The last thing that I would really recommend, even if you're on a budget, is this hand blender. A stick blender, a hand blender, an immersion blender. They go by many names, but they all do the same thing. They blend your food. I think this is possibly the most important thing if you want versatility in your cooking and you're in a small space or you don't have a lot of money to play with. You really don't need to spend a lot on a stick blender. This was about £9. You can get them for about £6. I'd recommend you spending around £10. That's all you need to spend. You don't need to spend more. This is really fantastic for making soup. Okay, so I'll make my soup in a pan. I'll just throw this in. It will puree it into a dream. You can use it with sauces. You can use it to make pancake batter. You can use it to help you when you're making guacamole, for example. Like if I open an avocado and I've cut it open and I realise it's not all the way ripe, all the way through, like one end was soft and the other end isn't, I'll blend it, it'll make the guacamole fine. You can use this to make things like ice cream from bananas, frozen bananas. You can use it to make smoothies. You can use it for so many different things. I actually use this to make cauliflower mash and carrot mash and things like that, because if you mash things with this, even if you did mashed potatoes or mashed sweet potatoes with this, it will give you the fluffiest, nicest texture you've ever had, and you will be eating vegetable mash until the cows come home, and it gets it a lot creamier, and it tastes like there's so much butter and cream in there, but it's just this baby. There are some things that you can't do with it, but in general you will be able to do a lot of things with that. So those are the basics. Those are the things that I think anybody would be happy to have in their kitchen and will serve you well if you want to eat healthily and cook really great food. I have some other things over here that I'm going to show you that are electrical equipment. Some of them I consider essentials, but they are electrical equipment, so people might disagree with me. And I also have some storage things and some other pans and things like that that I want to share with you. That will make your life a lot easier. And if you do want to build on things that you already have, or you want to add them to your wish list, ask for them for Christmas, birthdays, they are fantastic. The first thing is a slow cooker. Okay. Slow cooker, I don't even know how I can contain my love for a slow cooker into a couple of sentences. Slow cookers are like crack. Once you get a slow cooker, you'll want to make everything in a slow cooker, and you can make everything in a slow cooker. If you type into Pinterest, slow cooker, and then put any type of food in there, slow cooker brownies, slow cooker lasagna, slow cooker curry, slow cooker stew, which you would expect, slow cooker chicken, slow cooker beef, slow cooker bread is a thing as well. You won't believe it. Like, you can make anything in this. I like to use mine for things like Thai green curry or soups, curries, and lasagnas, stews, bolognese. What it basically does is cooks your food very, very slowly, hence the name slow cooker. So you might leave it on for maybe 6 hours. Let's say, for example, I'm watching a film, I'm watching TV, I will leave my slow cooker on and I will put it on at say 4 or 5 o'clock, and then I'll turn it off just before I go to bed, take the beautifully cooked meal, put it in the fridge, and then just heat it up the next night. And it's like having your own personal chef, except you do have to do the chopping, and it will just have your meal nicely cooked for you. And because it's cooked slowly, the spices, the herbs, the flavours really infuse. This is especially good for meat, but obviously I'm vegetarian, but it's especially good for meat because it keeps it moist, it keeps all the flavour in there. Really, really great. My slow cooker is a duo, so I have a slow cooker, and then if you take the lid off, I actually have a tagine lid. So it's a slow cooker and a tagine in one. Ta-da! This is by Gordon Ramsay and it retails for about £70, but I paid 15 because I got it from the cash and carry. I got it from Macro, which is like a cash and carry wholesaler. I got it from there really, really cheap. I did not realise how much of a saving I was getting. I thought £15 was a bargain, but I didn't realise how much of a bargain. I do really like this model, but it's not the biggest one. I recently bought one for my mum and dad in an effort to be evangelical about slow cookers and just spread the word, spread the gospel of slow cookers. And I got my mum a really decent slow cooker that's bigger than this for £15 from Tesco. You don't need to spend a lot of money, they're really cheap, so definitely recommend getting a slow cooker. Let me know if you want to see slow cooker recipes, because I may do a slow cooker series. For those of you that have slow cookers, I don't know how many of you do or how many of you are interested in getting one, but they're amazing. Another thing I would recommend people get is a good slicer or mandoline or whatever you want to call it. And it has different settings, so it goes deeper each time, so you can do 1, 2 or 3, and it depends what number you put it on corresponds to how thick the vegetable will be sliced. So if you want to make courgette discs, or if you want to make long thin slices, apple slices or peppers, or you want to make vegetable crisps, anything like that, you'll be able to do with this. But they'll give you a really uniform thickness. Every vegetable, everything you slice in here will be equally as thick, and it'll just make your meal a lot easier, and it's easier than chopping it by hand. Another thing that I absolutely love is good cookware. Again, discount stores like TK Maxx and HomeSense, you can buy Le Creuset, which is my brand of choice when it comes to cookware. Lasagna, anything, it's stews, casseroles, curries, you can make anything in this. And the thing I love about Le Creuset is no matter how many times you use them, I've had this for years, no matter how many times you use them, they always come clean. Even if something is baked on, and I mean like I've had cheese stuck to it, baked on, it's so easy to clean, so easy, and everything cooks really nicely in these. And a lot of the Le Creuset stuff you can take from freezer to oven to fridge, dishwasher friendly, really well made, really good quality. Another quite inexpensive piece of kitchen equipment that I can't sing the praises of enough is the humble Panini Press. Now my Panini Press is extremely humble because it's broken, the handle. I tried to glue it for this video. It got broken somewhere along the line when we were doing the house up. I don't quite know how, but it still works, it still presses things fine. I'm gonna put this down now. I cannot stress enough how amazing a Panini Press is. And you're gonna think I'm crazy, but it's true. If you live in halls of residence and you live in catered halls, which a lot of you say you do, you live in catered halls, you don't have a lot of kitchen space. I was in catered halls once and I had a kettle, a microwave, and a toaster, and that was it. I didn't have anything else. There was no hob, there was no oven, so I had to eat whatever I was given in the canteen. And if you're trying to be healthy, that isn't always the best thing. You know, it's okay to go and have like your breakfast and your lunch there, but maybe you don't want to eat every meal there and be at the mercy of whatever they're going to cook. Especially for me as a vegetarian, it was always cheesy and potatoey, and I wish I'd known about this when I was a student. But a lot of you also say that maybe your parents are not that open to you cooking healthy food or cooking different food. So the Panini Press is your new friend. Basically, a Panini Press can cost you anything from about £15 upwards. I think we paid about £25 for ours, and it's a really good one, apart from the broken handle now. Obviously, you're going to be thinking, what's so great about Panini Press, Gemma? Well, let me tell you, a Panini Press can cook paninis and sandwiches and toasted sandwiches and all that kind of business. Yeah, of course, it does that. That's fantastic. We're really happy for the Panini Press. What a Panini Press can also do cook a fried egg, cook you a little pressed omelette. They're going to look slightly different when they come out of here, but the end result is going to be the same. You can cook brownies on a panini press. You can grill vegetables on a panini press. You can cook bacon. You can cook hamburgers, chicken breasts. You can make little patties and make those on there, like the courgette patties I was talking about. You can cook anything on a panini press. And if you don't believe me, there is a website that I will link below and it will show you everything that you can make on a panini press. I'm not even joking, brownies. Real chocolate brownies on a panini press. This could change your life. If you live in halls of residence, this could change your life. You could be eating protein pancakes for breakfast, you could be eating bacon and omelettes and brownies and hamburgers, all from the humble panini press that you can plug in your room or in the little like sink area that you've got. Trust me, it's a game changer. Moving on to something that I feel very strongly about, and it is a food processor. You can have a food processor no matter your budget. I had something delivered today that I've wanted for a long time and I was really excited, and it is, if I can lift it up because it's really heavy, a Vitamix. So this is the Mac Daddy of all food processors. The Vitamix has been on my wish list for a long time, and you don't need to have a super expensive blender like the Vitamix, but there are benefits to it, which I'll get onto in a second. The main thing that a food processor will do for you is blend food and chop food and puree food for you. I talked earlier about the stick blender or the immersion blender. Now, the one thing that you will need with a stick blender is to have some sort of liquid. It doesn't really deal well with things that are solids, or there is no moisture, or there's no kind of nothing for it to sink into, like a soup or a stew or something, or a sauce. If you want to do dry ingredients, you do need a food processor. And you can buy food processors for about £15, so not too expensive. You can really get cheap ones, smaller ones. I have had a few different types of food processors. They've all broken on me, and some of them have been my fault. I've dropped the lid and they've cracked. Some of them have just not really stood the test of time, especially for the amount that I was using them. But if you don't mind replacing it every sort of 8 to 12 months, or if you're not bothered about a great food processor, then you can pick one up for about £15. You could make banana ice cream, you could make sorbets, you can puree soups, things like that, and you can also chop things like nuts. So you can make, I have a recipe for like fudge balls using dates and nuts. You can do things like that in a food processor, and you can also make smoothies in a food processor. You know, you don't need a smoothie maker. I would just get a food processor and that's going to do what you want it to do. But likewise, if you don't want to chop an onion, or if you don't want to chop a carrot or potatoes, you can put it in just lightly, you know, not for a long time because it will puree the food. But if you just do it lightly, you will be able to chop the vegetables and slice things up to make things like salsa. Now, where an expensive blender comes in, like the Vitamix. Firstly, I would recommend, if you have the money, buy a Vitamix. If you are not sure that you're going to use it a lot, buy a cheap food processor and see how often you use it. I got frustrated with my cheap food processor, but I did use a food processor practically every day. When I was food prepping, I used it maybe twice a week, 3 times a week, because obviously I was making the bulk of my food at the weekend. But for the meals that I like to make, things like DIY meatballs, you know, vegan ice cream, all that kind of stuff, you're going to need a food processor. And I used it a lot. So I would say start off with the cheaper one, see how you feel about it, and you will probably end up lusting after something like the Vitamix, like I did. Because not only does the Vitamix do things like liquids and do them really well, but it has a big motor in it, and what the big motor does is not only will it puree things much finer than anything else can. So for example, I recently went to the Ideal Home Show and I stood for, no joke, I stood for about an hour at the Vitamix stand just staring at the woman as she made all these things and tasting everything that she made. And I ate ice cream, I ate soup, and I ate well, I drank latte, gingerbread latte, all made right in front of me in the Vitamix. It makes soups, like your soup will come out hot because of the blades and because of the friction. So you can make soup in about 5 minutes. You can make ice cream, sorbets, frappes, anything like that, and it will blend things up. But what you can also do is make flowers. So today, I only got this today, but I already knew exactly what I wanted to use it for. I took some oats, which I just have here in a jar, and I made oat flour. So I can use this in baking, gluten-free baking. And what I will say to you is this: yes, they are expensive, but you have to look at the longevity of it. So Vitamixes on average last about 30 to 35 years. It allows you to be self-sufficient. So I plan on making my own hummus. I plan on making a lot more of my own nut butters. I want to make a healthy version of Nutella. I'm going to be doing so much experimenting in this thing. I hope you guys are excited to see the recipes. You know, if I can make my own flour, I can get a bag of oats from a budget supermarket for about 70p, a big bag of oats. And I can buy oat flour for about £3. So over the course of time, if I'm making my own almond butter, my own almond flour, if I'm making my own, you know, rice flour, I will save money in the long run as well as enjoying using it. So a good food processor, you'll be able to make your own salsas, like I said, nut butters, hummus, all those kinds of things, and be more self-sufficient and know what is going in your food. So food for thought from this video. Please let me know if you have any requests for basic things that I can cook in this series or show you. I'm looking for components like how to cook scrambled eggs, how to cook quinoa, how to cook rice, rather than meal ideas, which I'm always open to suggestions for, but for this particular series I want small individual components and basics, things that I can show you how to master. And if you have any thoughts on the student guide for using things like a Panini Press and a microwave, let me know and I'll get thinking. Thank you so much for watching. I'll leave all my links below. Don't forget to say hello to me on the internet, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!